Well, this review was going to originally start out in the woods with some chopping, and then it was going to move to some batoning with the Camillus Carnivore. Isn't that a good looking blade? 18 inches overall, 12-inch titanium bonded blade. But this knife had a catastrophic failure just as I was beginning to use it. This knife has gone on 3 outings with me. Picked it up 2 months ago and just haven't had time to really hard test it and use it. And I actually never got to hard test and use it. The first thing I did when I brought it home was I wanted to take off the grip panels and see if it really was full tang. Somewhere I got into my mind that this thing had a full tang blade, even though you can't see it there. If you can't see the full tang on a knife, okay, it's not full tang. And I don't know whether Camillus had been doing that, had been advertising that way. I went back and looked. The store I purchased it didn't appear to. This is what full tang looks like, okay? When you see the blade, this is a Rat Cutlery RC4. I previously reviewed this. This is full tang when the blade runs straight through. If you don't see that and they put the handles over it, I guarantee you 99.9% of the time that means they're covering something up. And that's what happened. As I was using this thing, this knife, I've actually taken it on a fly fishing trip with me and taken it and my Leatherman Wave as my primary cutting tools. A fly fishing trip to Montana. You guys will see footage of that coming up. And used it as my primary cutting tool. I really didn't use it that much. I used it to cut a couple limbs off some trees and just tested a little bit. Didn't do any batoning with it. Took it out another outing and used it very little. This last time I took it out and used it, and as I was chopping, I didn't even get the baton. Do you see that? Do you see how that's moving back and forth there? Do you see how I've drilled that little thing out there? Yeah, some problems are happening there. You hear that rattling? That's the problem with this knife. It broke. The tang broke in the handle, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. But I started working on it, working with it, and just chopping. I was cutting a sapling. Somebody had come through and cleared an area where I was, and there was a sapling that had been cut off close to the ground, but there was still a section of it. And I was chopping on it, and when I stopped chopping on it, I heard that rattle, okay? And I knew there was a giant problem. I ended up trying to get these grips off. The first thing I actually did when I got the knife was try and take the grips off, and I stripped it out here. Okay, you can see, I'm sorry, right there. And I was using the right tools. I have the correct tools, okay? But I ended up stripping it out partially there and one over here, and I thought I better just stop. You know, it was only $30. My original review for this knife, when I first purchased this, I already had some ideas and things set up. The title was going to be Camillus Carnivore Inexpensive Chopper, or a cost-effective chopper, actually was going to be the title. At $30, you get an 18.5-inch overall knife, a decent sheath for the cost, and you get a 12-inch blade. It's a pretty awesome knife for $30. Kind of a small, heavy bladed machete, but the thing is broken. So it took me some time to get this handle off and reveal what the problem was, and I'm just going to pry that off. I only got the handle, I had to break the handle off to get it off, so I didn't do that until I knew the knife was broken inside or was having some problems. We'll pull that off here. Okay, and I hope you guys can see this. It's not really, you know, it doesn't even come down all the way there, here. And no knife should do that. No fixed blade knife should do that. Okay, so it just broke. This titanium bonded, I believe, stainless steel. I'm not super impressed with it, as you can imagine. Let's see if I can work that off. We'll just leave it like that for a second. But you can see there it broke. And it's a catastrophic failure. One, because it had a catastrophic failure and it broke. But two, because this is a catastrophic design failure. Okay? They could have continued a large section of this down. They could have done an honest-to-goodness full tang. They could have done 3 screws or even 2 screws through there. But they didn't choose to do that. If I can show you this here, you can see where it broke right there. What happens is this secondary piece of handle, and I think that this is a design flaw they used for producing this knife. Okay, you can see here there was no reason for that hole except that this is a piece of plastic right there. And I think just for putting it together, that piece of plastic goes in there. It leaves, you know, almost no metal on the outside there to keep the knife together. But even then, okay, if you look very carefully, can you see that cut there? Can you see that little break? That's a problem. That's already starting to crack down here at this lower screw or rivet piece that comes through there is already starting to crack. And I don't know whether that's because they heat treated the metal inappropriately, or because this titanium bonded metal, titanium bonded stainless steel, is just really cheap or really susceptible to abuse. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, even if they hadn't had this plastic piece running through there, okay, I don't think it would have lasted that long. I don't think this one would have cracked as easily, but there's no reason for that plastic piece. There's no reason for this whole thing to not be thicker. And you can see right there it's already starting to crack. So as far as I'm concerned, this knife was really, really poorly designed. They just didn't go out and use it. After, you know, they should have produced this knife, produced 10 of them, given them to people that were on the design team and gone out and thumped on them a little bit. They would have broken. I wasn't even batoning. Now, I am just chopping when this happens. The good thing is the blade didn't pop out. This stayed stable, and you might have still been able to continue to use it a little bit. But I don't want something like this. I wouldn't, if somebody gave this to me free, I wouldn't take it, because it's flawed. It's going to break. If it, you know, so in my personal view, the Camillus Carnivore is a catastrophic failure, both as a tool, as a design, and the fact that it did break. You know, I'm going to be taking this back and getting my money back. If the knife hadn't broken, some things that I would have liked to see changed about the blade, you know, if it had been an honest-to-goodness full tang knife, or a knife that could actually take some beating, and I think they could still beef it up, but this scares me about the titanium bonded steel breaking like that. I wouldn't need these. They call this a saw here. This is just serrations like on any standard pocket knife. Okay, this is the sweet spots for this knife, at least for me, were here chopping around this edge right here, and in this area where you can bear down. You can't do any fine task with this. If you wanted to sharpen something, you know, sharpen a stick, it's very hard to sharpen things. This is great for sawing. They call it a saw, but it's really not a saw. I guess you could cut very, very small saplings and things. You could saw through them like that. Rope, certainly. But it really, as a bushcrafting and kind of a survival knife, to me, it fails, okay, with that. I don't want that. They call this, they say that this is supposed to be used for wire cutting or something. I think it might be okay to lift stuff off the fire from your pot. I did try and use it to kind of trim small bushes off branches. Small branches off small bushes and saplings and stuff. I didn't really find it that useful. So, you know, those are things I would have changed. I don't need this. I don't need that. I would have preferred better construction into the handle. Currently, I tell you guys to stay away. Stay very, very far away. Save your money. It is not worth the $30 for the Camillus Carnivore. It is a catastrophic failure, something you don't need and don't want. Stay away from it. What I would point you towards as another cost-effective chopper is the Fiskars. This is their small hatchet. Okay, this runs about the same price, about $30 at Walmart. You can also get them online for that price. I have used the living daylights out of this for almost a year and a half, and the review is coming up on it. I got one of these for all the guys that were in my wedding. When I got married, I gave each and every one of them one of these. I actually got this one as a gift from a friend of mine. And I've just used the living daylights out of this to build, to chop, backpack trips, camping trips. It resides in my vehicle, and it is definitely a really, probably on the top of my list for inexpensive survival and camping tools. And you guys are going to see a review coming out soon on it. But buy this, okay? Don't buy this. This Camillus Carnivore is not worth your money. My goal is to produce quality video reviews of shooting, survival, and camping equipment. I hope that this video has saved you money and time and allowed you to make wise decisions on the equipment that you buy. I really appreciate your views. I really appreciate your subscriptions. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Gear Tester signing off.